Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
Shopping for Christmas will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm B.J. Williams. With me is Jim Tolbert of Full Circle Bookstore to tell us how to shop for Christmas. Susie Beasley will talk with Ruby Soutier. Kids Corner will feature Shelley Ziegler-Hill. We also have Doug Benton, Clyde Martin, and Stuart Silverman. Coming up, Jim Tolbert.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, B.J. Williams.
Jim Tolbert is with me, or actually, I'm with Jim Tolbert at Full Circle Bookstore. This is one of the things that Jim does in his free time, is run this wonderful bookstore at 50 Penn Place. And actually, before we get into the hot topic of what to buy for Christmas, Full Circle has added a delightful little addition to its services, hasn't it?
Yes, we have in our new location at 50 Penn on the ground level. We now are serving lunch. The food is catered by Chef Chip Sears, who has a lot of friends in Oklahoma City, and we are delighted with the food. We're increasingly pleased with the service, and we'll encourage everybody to come enjoy it at Christmas.
Okay, so that's Monday through Saturday. You can come and do lunch.
From 11 until 2.
And then segue right on over to shopping for Christmas, right, which is a topic dear to all of our hearts this year. And you have brought a wonderful stack of books, so you're just going to tell us a little bit about some of these books?
Yes, I am indeed. The book that you're showing is Diamond, which is a very interesting story about, I think, something that fascinates many people. We think it fascinates women more than men, but perhaps that's not true, particularly if you read this book. This is the story of the Diamond Cartel, the reason that diamonds have become such an internationally recognized symbol of devotion and affection. It's the reason that they have, over the years, maintained their value in the face of the fact that they have ever-increasing production. So it's a fascinating book, and I recommend it for almost anyone who's interested not only in business, but in the romance of something like diamond.
Or anybody who owns a little jewelry.
That's very much so. Or would like to, perhaps.
Would like to, perhaps. Now, one of the things that has always intrigued me about shopping for Christmas is at a place like Full Circle, I can walk in and say, I have a 3-year-old niece and I need help. So, but that is something that Full Circle, the staff at Full Circle...
We're proud of that. Is our staff is very knowledgeable. Not only do they all read, they are all concerned about other people reading of all ages. And we do have members of our staff that are very devoted to children's literature and can tell you something for almost any age group.
Now, a couple of the subject actually of these books here, though, is the season, isn't it?
It is indeed. And these are unusual. One is a reprint of a famous story, The Miracle on 34th Street, which was has become a movie that is almost a tradition in many families. This is a rewriting of the story itself, and I think something that you would very much enjoy giving or reading at Christmas. The other is the classic story. Every fiction author thinks at some point in his life he has to write a Christmas book. I think that's the way to have economic security in his old age, but because it reappears year after year. But John Grisham, who is as successful as almost any fiction writer, has this year written a book called Skipping Christmas, which is a joy and which I can recommend to almost any age. Unlike much of his more serious fiction, there's no violence, there's no significant despair. This is a very, very delightful little book.
Now, are these read-aloud books by any chance?
I wouldn't think either one of them particularly would be, but we certainly have a number that are.
Okay. Well, I was thinking one tradition is quite often gathering the kids around the tree
and reading Christmas books.
Reading something. Now, this one is probably not a read-aloud book either.
Well, poetry is a challenge for a lot of people. Billy Collins writes very approachable poetry, and as it happens, he is the new poet laureate of the United States. And this book is a book that I think the broadest possible group of people would enjoy reading the poetry. One poem at a time or just sitting down and reading it. And there is something you can enjoy reading aloud, because poetry often is more satisfying reading to someone else.
Well, I have found, even when I'm alone, I'll suddenly look down and I have an audience of animals because I am reading the poetry out loud.
Well, this is very much that kind of poetry.
Hey,
And your animals would enjoy it.
Okay. Well, I will remember that. They may find this in their stockings. Okay. And we've got another one. This is also...
This is sports humor. Mike Lupica is first of all, a humorist, and secondly, a sports writer. This is a story about the first woman player in the NBA, and it's pure fiction. It's wonderfully funny. It's a serious subject at some points and deals with serious subjects, but it's a great read.
So this is for any sports fan?
Any sports fan, or also people who just like things that are humorous.
Okay, great. Now, this next one here.
Alan First is one of my current favorites. He writes elegant prose. He writes what amount to adventure mystery stories set in the period of the late 30s, 1935 to 1940, right at the opening of the Second World War, largely set in Paris, but also in Eastern Europe. This is the 7th of a series. They are not in sequence. They don't have common characters, but they are all set in that time period. He has an extraordinary capacity to put you into the mood and feeling of the time. And I just recommend this to anyone who likes to read for the pleasure of escape, really, but a rather sophisticated escape.
Well, and this was, as you said, it's adventure mystery. This was certainly an adventurous time.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
Great things to come. Now this, Susan Isaacs, I think I've heard that name.
Yeah, I think you have. Susan Isaacs has written a lot of books, a lot of fiction. She's returned in with this book to characters that were in her most successful book, her earliest book. And it, again, is a mystery. It is also humorous. It is delightfully biting in some respects. She, again, writes well, not with the elegance of Alan Firth, but with remarkable panache and style.
Okay. And then this must be biography.
This is biography of Theodore Roosevelt. Edmund Morris is an author who gained a lot of recognition writing a biography of Ronald Reagan called Dutch, in which he wrote himself as a character into the biography, which was very controversial and not widely appreciated. He's gone back to his more traditional style, and I think to his favorite subject, which is Theodore Roosevelt. This is the second volume of what is projected to be a 3-volume biography of Theodore Roosevelt. This is the presidential years, which to most of us are the most familiar, but probably bring out the most remarkable qualities of Theodore Roosevelt. So I think anyone who's interested in American history or American leadership, or perhaps the elements of this century or this time that most reflect the past, would enjoy Theodore Rex. I liked it a lot.
Thank you very much, Jim. And we're out of time now for this segment, but we've had with us Jim Tolbert. We've been here at Full Circle Bookstore, where you can shop for Christmas. Coming up next, we have Susie Beasley talking with Ruby Soutier.
Ruby, what's with this title, Second Time Around, by Katie Ford?
Well, obviously, it's a play on words, but let me tell you how this book opens. I had to write this down and bring it in.
Okay.
This is how the book starts. Well, are you going to come in or just stand there in the doorway with your trug looking picturesque? Perdita was almost paralyzed with shock and confusion. How could short, plump, amiable, and easygoing Enzo have almost overnight turned into the tall, black-browed monster she had divorced 10 years before? Somehow she got herself across the threshold. This is how the book opens. This is definitely a play on words. Perdita is an organic vegetable gardener. And her largest customer is a restaurant called Grantley House. And Enzo was the chef at Grantley House, but now all of a sudden, her ex-husband, Lucas Gillespie, is the new chef.
Okay.
And she had not seen him for years. And because she's the gardener selling her produce and he's the chef. I guess that's where she came up with this title. But the title basically sets the tone for the book. It's a British romantic comedy. It is interplay between Lucas and Perdita, and it is really funny. It has a lot of good secondary characters. It has Kitty, who is an elderly lady that is Perdita's neighbor and mentor and best friend, and almost like a second mother, since Perdita's own parents are always out of the country on trips and things. And then there is Janie, who is Lucas's assistant in the kitchen at the restaurant.
So what did you like best about this book?
What I like best about this book is all of the hilarious interplay and interaction and sparks flying between Lucas and Perdita. It is really, really funny.
Really hilarious.
It does have a little bit of seriousness in it, so it's not totally giddy and frivolous, but what I like best about it is the comedy.
Yeah. So Katie Ford has written 2 other books, Stately Pursuits and Life Skills. We don't have a lot of background on it, but it sounds like with her doing second time around, the other 2 are probably just as readable.
They may be.
Well, we really appreciate you coming and sharing with us, Ruby. Second Time Around by Katie Ford. This is brand new and it's available at your local library and perhaps your local bookstore. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Ruby.
There are millions of websites on the internet, more than 800 million web pages, and thousands of search engines. It's easy to get lost unless you start at metrolibrary.org. Renew your books, browse the catalog, search a database, check movie listings, or even your horoscope. At metrolibrary.org, you'll find the perfect place to start your web journey. A family-friendly site redesigned to meet your needs. Sure, you could cruise the other 799 million web pages, but why?
A few weeks ago, I had an opportunity to talk with a poet, Stuart Silverman. I think you'll enjoy what he had to say about writing poetry. Stuart, I'm going to ask a possibly very complicated question, which is, why do you like to write poetry?
I don't like to write it. I have to write it. It's one of those compulsions, and it took me a long time to accept this and realize it, because I came out of actually a science background. I started in chemistry, physics, math, went into philosophy, and only wound up in English in graduate school. But I found myself writing, and I think writing dreadfully bad confessional poems out of Eliot when I was much younger, and gradually changed my style of writing and found that I cannot stop when I get the impulse. It has to come out.
And does the impulse happen regularly, or is it something that in your life that triggers, I've got to say something about this?
No, it's not usually that I have to say something about this. It's more that a sound or a phrase comes to mind, and I work with that and play with it. A few days ago, we went out in the morning, and when we were driving back, the fog, there was actually a very severe mist, and the phrase clouds of trees came to mind. And that eventually worked itself out as a poem. But it started entirely with just the vision of the trees as themselves being the cloud, rather than the trees in a cloud of trees. And that worked itself out as a kind of Japanese-esque poem, which went way, way away from the original image, but kept it. So it's sound, or it's an image, or it's a feeling. Only when I write political satire, which I do occasionally, do I start off with a thing that I want to write about. And those I won't tell you about because I don't know your politics.
Well, there's lots of other things to talk about, so we'll just head on to that. Now, your book is The Complete Lost Poems.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you didn't sit down and say, I'm going to write enough poems to fill up a book.
You're absolutely right. No, it's a compilation. It's the poems actually go back to the early 60s, I would say. And I worked a long time to get the poems together so that I felt they added up to something rather than just being a disparate collection. That was very hard, actually.
Well, that is one of the things that fascinates me about collections, whether it's poetry or essays or something. How do you decide that this is what needs to be in the book, this over here would not add to it or would detract from it? That I find that a very fascinating thing. Now, did you do that yourself or did you work with someone?
No, I did it myself. I guess I started with the notion of earlier poems, actually chronologically earlier, which explored some of the my direct reactions to the natural world. The Bear in the Garden is one, The Aging Rhinoceros. And from there I moved into the poems where I introduced myself more as a social being with other people. And it winds up with an apocalyptic vision. The last poem in the book, Emptying Time, is actually an apocalyptic vision. It starts out as a kind of beat personal exploration of my earlier life. And however, it modulates, it segues into a vision of a black hole literally engulfing everything in an apocalyptic end. So it goes from a poem, The Bear in the Garden, which is a very harmonious poem about being in harmony with nature, being a human being who is between earth and air, which incorporates spirit in the corporeality, and it winds up in an apocalyptic vision. And I hope I don't see that for a while yet.
Let's all hope that stays
Okay.
away for a while. But I noticed that a number of your poems seem to be almost addressing a piece of art or a sculpture that you had encountered as well.
Art is very important to me, music too, but I have no musical talent whatsoever, so I just enjoy. But art, I think I know a little bit about, and very often in one case a Cézanne, in another case a sculpture by a French sculptor named Ipoustegui, in another case a Rembrandt etching, and there's a Goya in there too. These had very strong influences on me. I saw them, I was very impressed, and things started to emerge. And I did not have a program for them, what I was going to write about them. In one case, it's a fair description. The Rubens, there's a Rubens etching, and I have a fair description of it in there. In other cases, it's more an exploration of the feeling that was engendered by the artwork.
One that I particularly enjoyed was the one that you wrote in Hawaii about the woman you started.
The leprosarium?
Yes, yes.
That's in a way, it's a fantasy. I read about the leprosarium, and I was on Molokai, which is one of the lesser-known islands, and that's where there was a famous leprosy hospital run by Father Damien for 50 or so years. It's a very sad story. He eventually contracted and died of Hansen's disease, leprosy, and I fantasized a Hawaiian woman who lived in the leprosarium, had the disease, and who reminisces about it. And it's pure fantasy. I'm glad you brought that up, because actually it lets me say that I feel that I'm limited, every individual is limited, and I love to adopt different persona. And in this case, I was a Hawaiian woman. And tried to describe some of the islands, some of what the islands feel like to me, and then tried to feel what it must be like to be a woman living in that very constrained, strange situation. I said it back in the 1890s, in my mind, but I don't know that anybody else would. And I've done other poems in which my persona is a young girl just before World War I. Letter from St. Cloud, it's in there, and I use the persona of the young girl. In others, I've used personas of a Greek foot soldier and things like that. That's not in there, though.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I particularly enjoyed really running all through here was your description, particularly of nature. I found that when you talked about your cloud of trees, I thought I was seeing it. So I thought that was really wonderful.
That's pleasing. Thank you.
And I want to thank you very much for being with us today and telling us a little bit about the Complete Lost Poems.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Remember, you can find the Complete Lost Poems at your library and your favorite bookstore. Kelly Ria will be talking with Shelley Ziegler-Hill about a book that I think lots of kids will really enjoy.
If you have kids that are 4 to 8 years old, we have a book that we know that they will like. The pictures are beautiful and the words may inspire them. Shelley, can you tell us about this book?
This book is called Songs of the Whooping Crane by Eileen Spinelli, and it is actually a long poem, really. Oh. It's a picture book, and it follows the birds, their winter migration south, and it talks about this dance they do kind of as they fly south.
How neat. I don't think I've ever heard of birds that dance.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of how it's described, and the pictures illustrate that as well.
They are beautiful pictures. Mm-hmm. It almost looks like a watercolor.
They are watercolors, and what I like about the pictures is that they take up 2 pages as opposed to just 1 page a piece. They span both pages, which is unusual for a picture book to do.
Well, and the bigger the pictures, the more involved I find that children will get with it, and you can be a lot more detailed.
I think so, and I think for younger children too, the pictures mean a lot more than the words probably, because they may not understand the wording, but the pictures really convey a lot of what is said in the poem. And the illustrator, Elsa Warnick, she actually observed whooping cranes over many seasons to get factual pictures of how they really look and how they really move and fly.
Wow. Well, there are beautiful pictures, and it's almost as if they come to life right in front of your eyes because they are so brilliant. There's a lot going on, so that when kids look at it, and you ask, well, where's the dragonfly, or where's, and what are they doing?
Yeah. I think this would be a good book. There isn't any actual factual information about the whooping crane, so for a teacher or even a parent, I would recommend that they pair this book with maybe an actual non-fiction book that talks about the whooping crane and their extinction, their near extinction, and how they're coming back.
So is this a good book about touching on that topic?
I think definitely so, but I think you would have to pair it with something a little more factual, because like I said, there isn't any factual information in this. It's just one long poem.
Oh, but it's really pretty.
It is.
And it is important that we're aware of these birds.
I think so, and it's a good way to introduce that to young children, have them start thinking about animals and extinction and the like.
And what that means, and respecting nature.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Shelley, for bringing this book. It's beautiful. Song of the Whooping Crane. It's available at your local library or at your favorite bookstore.
Thanks, Kelly and Shelley. Coming up next, we have Doug Benton of the Metropolitan Library System and the Oklahoma Gazette. He'll be talking with that renowned radio opera host and actor, Clyde Martin.
Thanks. Hello again, everybody. I'm here once more with Clyde Martin. Clyde, welcome.
Thank you.
Biographies are in, with biography on television and biography documentaries are springing up, and you want to talk about a couple of sources for
That's right, I do.
Biographical information.
These are biographical books. The first one, the Biographical Dictionary of Film, and this one is a pretty good 1-volume set of film biographies, and it's not just actors. Of course, it gets into directors and designers and a lot of other things, but it's a very good starting point anyway. I think that one of the interesting things about this book is he sort of will combine 2 actors together, like he has Frances Farmer and Sharon Stone together.
They didn't even work at the
No,
same time.
well, they didn't even live at the same time, I don't think. But the reason he did was Frances Farmer really is known more for her off-screen and offstage behavior, and Sharon Stone for her on-screen Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
So this is why he has put them together. But there are other things in this book too that it's a very I went through. I always do this with any of the books of this kind. I check to see who isn't in there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, well. Yesterday morning, I was watching a film with Mario Lanza and Katherine Grayson. They're neither one in here.
Oh.
They just aren't
too lightweight.
That's right. But still, it is very comprehensive, and it has some interesting details about some of the people that we haven't always found in other places.
Well, before we run out of time, let's take a look at the other book.
The
What have
other
you got
one.
here?
Oh, by the way, both of these more or less are reference books, but they do circulate at the library, so
Very
you can
good.
take them
People
home
can take them home.
and browse. The other one is the Norton Grove Concise Encyclopedia of Music. Now, it's got to be concise if you take it home, because the Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians is 20 volumes. So
A college course
this
in
really
itself.
is cut down. And this is a British publication. So I checked to see, again, who wasn't there. Well, there were a number of Americans who were not.
Was that because it's been condensed to one volume?
It probably is. But, and by the way, it's not just all classical. There are a lot of popular people included. The Beatles is in here, but Elvis Presley isn't.
It's British.
You see,
You can tell it's British.
and there are other examples, although Sinatra is, and a number of other first-rate American people. But it is slanted.
Okay. Well, thank you. We have two books of show business biography, serious and popular. Thank you for bringing them by. Thank you all for listening to us, and we'll see you again soon.
There are millions of websites on the internet, more than 800 million web pages, and thousands of search engines. It's easy to get lost unless you start at metrolibrary.org. Renew your books, browse the catalog, search a database, check movie listings, or even your horoscope. At metrolibrary.org, you'll find the perfect place to start your web journey. A family-friendly site redesigned to meet your needs. Sure, you could cruise the other 799 million web pages, but why?
Check out the Metropolitan Library System on the web. You can look us up on the internet at www.metrolibrary.org. You can find out about what programs or at which libraries, when the libraries are open, where they're located. You can also access our catalog of materials and find out about all the books, CDs, audio, and videotapes we have available. Put them on reserve and have them waiting at your favorite library to pick up. Check us out on the web and be sure to join us again next time.
Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.